Hello, what I want to talk to you today is about the length of the trumpets in Revelation. Now, in an attempt to keep this video concise to that topic, I will not go over all the details of prophecy that we can find in Revelation, but just this one question, and that is, how long are the trumpets? Now, when we look in Revelation, we'll see that the later trumpets are given an exact amount of days, but the first few do not. And so there's a problem. And so I looked up at a Google search last night, and there really doesn't seem to be an answer. But I was thinking about this over the last 6 months, and I think I might have a plausible method to figure out what those timelines are. And furthermore, as we get through the video, I'll be able to show you that I think there's support for that. But let me give you an example. Let's say you knew nothing about football, and someone said they played the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, and in the fourth quarter they played 15 minutes. Well, if you knew nothing about football and you were to say, well, how long is a game, you would guess that the first, second, third quarter are also 15 minutes. That's exactly what we're going to be using right here to determine that. Now, in addition, from getting these deductive numbers, I'm also going to show how it fits into prophecy, gaining support and structure for it. But let me turn the camera toward the board I've got behind me, and we'll dive into it. Okay, we've got the board that I made up for this video, and this topic of the length of the trumpet judgments is something I've been mulling about for the last 6 months or so. And the football quarter example does well to explain this. But let's just look at, just to catch you up on a general outline of what I have here. I've got the Daniel's 70th week. Some people call this the full tribulation. I disagree with that terminology, but it is 7 years of 360-day prophetic years. So when you split that in half, you get 1,260 days for the first 3.5, 1,260 days for the second 3.5. And a firm point, the reason why I have this midpoint with the AOD, or that's also known as the abomination of desolation that Christ talks about in Matthew 24, is that this is a firm point. Daniel also points to this event and says it's in the midweek. So if this is a week of years, 7 years, then midweek puts you exactly at 3.5. So what I've also got here, though this is not the main topic, I put the seals or the scrolls, and that's 1 through 7 through this point here, as I say it. They go to the end of the Great Tribulation that Christ describes, and then we have the rapture. You look at Matthew 24, the rapture occurs at the end of the Great Tribulation. And I say Great Tribulation because that's what Christ calls it in King James. There's no reference to the Bible that says this 7-year period is a tribulation period. Yes, it is a period of tribulation, but it is not described as the tribulation period. Correctly, it's Daniel's 70th week. So the difference between the seals and the trumpets, as a quick background, is that the seals or the scrolls are authorizations by Christ. Christ opens these seals to allow Satan a certain amount of domain. So by that definition, and that's how the Bible describes it, as the seals that are opened by Christ, this is not the judgment of God or the wrath of God. But when we get into the trumpets, these are the wrath of God. In fact, if you look in Revelation, you'll see when you get to the end of the seals, and then you read into the trumpets, you'll say his wrath, the Bible says his wrath is come. Well, it is come, meaning it is come right here. So that's and then we have the bowls on outside of that 7-year period, and that's opened with the 7th trumpet. Now, I don't have, to keep this video more concise, I'm not going to describe what each of the the trumpets have in them, but the seventh trumpet is where Christ claims the world, and then you get into prediction of Armageddon war, and you have these bowls, which are 7 bowls, and they happen very quickly. But the opening of the seventh, Christ has reclaimed the world. Now, once we get past the Great Tribulation and we get into the trumpets, or what I describe as the wrath of God, there are 7, and 2 of them have lengths of period of time, and I put them in blue. So the 6th trumpet goes for 391 days and 1 hour. The 5th trumpet goes 150 days, whereas 1, 2, 3, and 4 have no time associated with them. But let's go back to that football example. So if I said you had a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and then a 5th trumpet was 150 days, it's not a guarantee for this method, but you could guess that these previous, you might take a stab of a guess and say, well, each of these are 150 days. And that's what I did. So to bring this together, if you use 150 days for these earlier trumpets and use the known days for the later trumpets, you find that there is a gap of time that's 119 days by the calculator. Now, I've long held that the Great Tribulation period is 120 days, and I use John 4:35 as a reference for that, where Christ says that it's 4 months, everyone knows it's 4 months into the harvest. And the thing is, you can say, well, that's not real strong evidence, but I think it might be more so than not, and that is because when he says that in John 4:35, it's kind of out of the blue. And so you're trying to look for context of what these 4 months or 4 times 30, 120 days means. Now, if you're getting down to brass tacks, it could mean that there could be other times, when I say 119 days, it could be, and that's just for this side of the graph. Once you get over here, in other words, the Great Tribulation may start to begin 1 day before the midpoint, which we know is a day. So if you follow what I'm saying here, if you use 120-day Great Tribulation, 150, 150, 150, 150, and the given 150 and the given 391, you actually get 1,261 days. And that's why I suspect that maybe 1 day for the start of the Great Tribulation could occur before the abomination of desolation. And I think that's very possible. So that's the basic outline, and to keep this video short without just rambling, I'll begin to bring it to a close here. But if you have any questions on this, if you use this method, it does match, and it does match for 120-day approximate Great Tribulation. Okay, listen, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments below, and I will answer them as best I can. Thank you, and have a blessed day.